Good morning, SA wine lovers, and welcome to the Safe SA Wine live stream. We are in a new week, and firstly, I have to apologize because we've had a few live streams cancelled because of load shedding, but it seems to be that we are a little bit more back to normal now. So hopefully that's the end of that. But yes, we've got an exciting week ahead. We're still running along with our 1660 campaign. As you guys know, we are supporting 60 producers in the next 16 days. And today's featured producer is Spionkop Wines. Um, Spionkop Wines is wines made by Koen Roos in the Elgin Valley. And go have a look on the website, spionkopwines.co.za. That's spionkopwines.co.za. And go read up a little bit more on them, support them. They're one of our 1660 wineries. And I'm sure they would love your support. I'm going to talk about more about them in this evening's live stream. Then the next thing is we've got a giveaway. It's giveaway time. Our sponsors, the Fishwives Club, are giving away the new cans. They told us the giveaway was originally for the end of August, but it's been extended until the end of out in the middle of October because of they've had a production problem with the cans because of the lockdown. There's been a delay. But you can still, that means there's more time for you to win. So if you haven't entered yet, enter the giveaway. They're going to give 24 cans away of the new Fishwives Club canned wine. And you can enter the giveaway. It's free to enter, no cost involved. Fishwives Club can giveaway.gr8.com. That's Fishwives Club can giveaway.gr8.com. And then just back to our featured winery of the day, Spionkop Wines. We really like you guys to support us in our 60 campaign. We've got a bunch of producers there, 60 of them to be exact, that are going to be featured. And the campaign started on the 30th of August and it runs until the 28th of October. And we want everybody to use the following hashtags. Hashtags 60 in 60, hashtag Save SA Wine, and hashtag Drink South African. As you guys know, our producers are still in a conundrum. It does not mean because the alcohol ban is lifted that everything's back to normal. We still need to get our wine tourism going, and our producers are going to need your help for months and years to come. There's still a lot of jobs at stake. Vinpro estimates that we could lose 18,000 jobs in the next year and a half in the wine industry. So it's dire straits, and we need you guys to support us. To get more information on the 1660 campaign, go to our website. It's savesawine.co.za. Let me repeat that. That's savesawine.co.za. You'll also see there's a producer calendar which will tell you on which days every producer is featured. And the producer calendar, you can also find that on safesawine.ca.za/60 in 60. And then lastly, we'd love you guys to go to our Instagram. Please support our Instagram. Leave a comment. Instagram.com/safesawine.co.za. And then I also want to please ask everybody in your group who's in the Safe SA Wine Facebook group to please invite all your friends and family. We are closing in on 57,000 people. We want to push this group to 100,000 in the next month or so. So if every single person just goes out and invite 2 people, we can really get some momentum to take us to the 100,000. Our wine industry needs your help. So please do that. It's no cost involved in just sharing this with others. And if we all work together, we can make sure that the campaign stays strong and that our producers are helped. I'm going to be online again this evening at 7. but now we have a featured podcast with every live stream. If there's anybody that wants to be featured on your podcast, a great way for a winelands business to get some exposure. It's totally free. All you've got to do is email us at visitthewinelands@gmail.com, and we'll happily arrange an interview. Um, and yeah, looking forward to hear from you. Our featured podcast this morning is an interview I did with Cathy Brewer. Cathy Brewer is the sales and marketing head at Villiera Wine Estate, and she's also a member of the Grier family who owns the wine estate. And Villiera has a fascinating story. They make a fantastic MCC, and just listen to the podcast with Cathy. Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we'll be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, winelands businesses, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Good day, everyone, and welcome back to About the Winelands. Today I'm talking to Cathy Brewer. Cathy is from Villiera Wine Estate. She's the sales and export manager and also part of the family business. Hi, Cathy, how are you?
Hello, Will. I'm very well, thank you.
Thanks for spending the time with us. I know you must be busy.
I'm always happy when the topic is wine.
Yeah, wine is the topic. So, Villiera, can you tell us a little bit of the history of the farm and your family on the farm?
Yes, sure. The Grier family bought Villiera in 1983. At that point, it belonged to an Austrian gentleman who was not, and the brand was not that well known in South Africa. And most of the wine at that stage was exported. And then, there's sort of no big secret as to how Villiera grew. In the mid-20s, my generation of the business, when we were in our mid-20s, that was our generation, ended up with this wine farm, and it was fairly run down, and it produced around 4,000 cases of wine. And I'd say our success is due to many hours and lots of hard work from our extended team. We had a lot of fun along the way in building our brand. And there was also a lot of luck and good timing too. Jeff and Simon basically started everything, my brother and my cousin, and I joined in 87 with my computer background, and I left that business and I went and studied food and wine at Prue Leith in London. So in the winter months, I wrote a program to look after our mailing list and all of that. And in the summertime, I cooked tapas style lunches and champagne breakfast, or you can't say champagne, cup classique breakfasts. Mm-hmm. And our biggest break really came with meeting Jean-Louis Denois, who came from the Champagne region. And we had a 10-year royalty agreement with him. And that's how our bubbly started, which is mostly what we're talking about today. No one would have known that the brand we started then, called Tradition, would have grown into what it is today. And yeah, becoming one of the top bubbly brands in South Africa.
Well, that's amazing. It's what a change from doing spreadsheets in one season and cooking tapas in the next, right? That must have been quite. So which is your favorite pastime, the tapas or the spreadsheet?
Neither really. So now my husband cooks everything, and the spreadsheets are done by people that are much better at it than me. And I look at a computer today and I can't believe that I used to work with these punch cards and feed them into this huge, massive thing that took up a whole room. And now we're talking to each other on, podcasts and Zoom and all these fancy things, and I'm feeling a bit lost, but I manage. I prefer the people side of things and the marketing and meeting good people, talking about wine. So more the marketing and the sales than the computer and the cooking side.
Well, that's awesome. So you mentioned the Champagne region. What a lovely place to visit, and to have a license from somebody there must have been just a dream. you said bubbly. Now everybody's talking about MCC. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what you're doing at Villiera, and you know how this become the driving force in your business?
Yeah, so Cup Classique is for sure our driving force. It's about 40% of what we do. Um, and we've continually innovated this area because you can't just stay in the same place. So we've now introduced Zander Grier, who's our nephew, to this category. He's looking after our Cup Classique production. Jeff Grier, my brother, was the one that really got it going. Between him and Jean-Louis, I think we've looked at every category, and we continually do look at it because otherwise you just get left behind.
Quite interesting. So, where are your are you selling worldwide? Is your customers mostly South African, or what is your split between exports and the local market?
Our local market is strong, so we're 80% local. You know,
Wow.
with bottle fermented bubbly, it's not so easy to get into the export market, although the Cup Classique Association are trying very hard to lift the category,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, here we can give incredible value, top quality Cup Classique, which no one really from outside can compete with. Once you get into the export markets, you're looking at the lower end champagnes, which come into our price category, and they've marketed themselves so well. And then you get Prosecco, which is not the same thing because it's not bottle fermented, but it's capturing the imagination of the younger crowd, which is also good. It's getting them drinking bubbly. And Cava from Spain. And you've just got a wide range of things, and Cup Classique is just one small little dot on the map. So we have to work quite hard to get that recognized, but it is coming, and there's a lot of good quality Cup Classique being produced at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's exciting that it's coming, right? I mean, I think you're right. Your younger people are, you know, the new market, so that's going to be interesting to see how that is changing. But yeah, it's tough competition from the French in Champagne. They've always been at the forefront of marketing ideas and really pushing that. You have a footprint in France called Domaine Grier. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes. Now, Domaine Grier is in the Roussillon, which is in the south of France, is in the foothills of the Pyrenees.
Mm-hmm.
And it also actually happened because of Jean-Louis Denois, who introduced us to bubbly. And he phoned my brother in December in 2005 and said to him, you know, there's this piece of land with your name on it. You've always promised you'd come and do something in France after all the years he'd spent here in South Africa. And so Jeff flew over there and just fell in love with this beautiful patch of land with Syrah, Grenache, Carignan. There was the youngest vines there are sort of 40 years old. So we're looking like at a serious piece of vineyard in a beautiful climate, which we used to, Mediterranean climate. And the guy that owned it was going to take the Euro subsidy and get out of the wine business completely. And so basically all we had to offer him was a little bit more than what Brussels were going to offer him. And we ended up with a wine farm in France. And yeah, I think our success there has really been with rosé, which is not what we were planning to do in the beginning. It's a end. But, you know, if you make a classic French rosé, people know what they're looking for. Something minerally, with good fruit, not too alcoholic, dry. In the South African market, the category is a little bit more confusing. You're not quite sure whether it's going to be sweet or dry or fruity. And so it's become our top seller, especially at Woolworths in South Africa. And we bring over quite a bit at a time. And I have to say that Woolworths is by far our biggest customer. They also take a wine called Lacaduc. In the area we are, there are these beautiful old Cathar castles and aqueducts, and the Lacaduc is named after aqueduct near to our vineyard, and it's a blend of Syrah, Carignan, and Grenache. And then we have a Chardonnay, And a Merlot, we bought 2 hectares of Merlot near to our original vineyard, which basically all goes to Woolworths. And then they have a Grenache. On Villiera itself, we also have a Grier Brut, which is of course, we had to go there, make a bubbly. We're the only one in that little region that does. It's made from Macabo, which they mostly in Cava in Spain, Carignan and Chardonnay. And then we have a Odyssea, which is all about our journey to France. That's a Syrah Carignan Grenache. We have a premium red called Olympus, which is made from 100-year-old vines, and that's Syrah and Grenache. And then we have a white called Alba, which is Grenache Gris and Grenache Blanc, very unusual, from old slate soils, very low production, quite special.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So, that's quite interesting. South Africans buying French wines. Do you think that is a market that's going to grow over time?
South Africans are very loyal to locals, so it's a niche market. But we always say it's not so foreign because it's owned by South Africans.
Well, there's also, I suppose, a price issue always, right? Imported wines are always traditionally been more expensive than local stuff.
Yeah, fortunately, we do bring it over in full containers, which brings the price down. Mm-hmm. And we also have, euros on this side, and because we're exporting as well, it helps us to bring the price down. So it's very good value.
Oh, that's awesome. So in terms of the other thing that I want to talk about is, sustainability and the environment. This seems to be such a hot topic these days. And, you guys are also quite involved with that. So what are you doing in terms of sustainability and also environmental awareness?
Well, thanks for bringing that up, because this is a very important part of Villiera and what we do. There's 2 sides of sustainability. There's the environmental side, and then there's the people side. Mm-hmm. And we have many different projects. So I'm just going to mention some of them. We can't go into detail on all of them because we've got a rainwater harvesting, we've got solar power, we've got an indigenous tree planting project where we planted hundreds of thousands of indigenous trees, which basically make up for all the carbon that we emit in making our wine, and then some. And then we have a wildlife sanctuary on the farm, and that I'll talk about now more. But we also have the Pebbles Project, which is a non-profit organization that's based on Villiera, and it looks after thousands of kids in the winelands, their education and health side of their lives, and it's really made such a huge difference. But you can look up the Pebbles Project. It's just something amazing. And then with our wildlife sanctuary, we basically have an area on the farm that's not really that suited to vineyard, and we decided to return it to its natural state. And the environmental part of our business has become more and more important to us and to our customers as well. I mean, some people actually seeking us out because of our whole sustainable environmental credentials. And so it's becoming more and more a part of people's lives. And the Wildlife Sanctuary is a big project. It allows us to show visitors firsthand what we're all about in a way that they won't really forget. Because if you come here for a 2-hour game drive and then you go on a wine tasting, you will remember it. So it adds a lot of value to the tourism part of Stellenbosch. And apart from game that we've introduced, like giraffe, gemsbok, bontebok, wildebeest, kudu, many. There are 130 different bird species, some of which were facing extinction, like the blue crane and the secretary bird. And I think it's just because, if you've got a big area like that, it becomes a safe haven to a large number of animals who then come there naturally, not something you've introduced. Like we've got lots of the Cape chameleon. So really, you just need to come there and we can explain it and show it all to you. And then at the same time, we can tell people about all our other projects while they go on a game drive through the vineyards on their way to the wildlife sanctuary.
I love it. What a concept. A vineyard game drive. I mean, there's nothing you can't love about that. So, Cathy, if you have a lot of visitors on your farm, and sometimes the public, are not always aware of environmental issues and stuff like that, like they should be. If you have a tip for somebody visiting the winelands, what's the one thing that you would say they can do to actually help with sustaining our environment?
Well, they I suppose need to think about recycling and not bringing bottles of water in plastic and discarding them. It just becomes a way of life. Everything you do, you think of. And I think this whole coronavirus has actually made people more aware of all of that. Although, things have become more and more packaged, I've noticed, but hopefully...
That's true, right?
Hopefully that's just a temporary thing.
So it's interesting you're mentioning the coronavirus. I mean, everyone has been forced, to rethink their business models. And do you guys have any changes or new ideas in mind on your side?
It's difficult because we've been thrown into this and you all become so busy trying to fight the fire. But I think the logical thing to do is to cut out areas that create a lot of stress and time, but add very little to your business. And these could be wines, for instance, that you put a whole lot of effort into and they don't really sell because they're wines that people aren't drinking anymore, or they're wines that there's so much of that you're just fighting in a big pond. Or we might change the way we manage our tasting room. I mean, we were talking the other day about, the dispensers, so that you don't have too many people handling bottles. We might not go that way, but there's lots of different things to think of where you might have spent a huge amount of effort for very little gain. And I think those are the kind of things that will probably cease to exist after this time. And then I think everybody's looking at putting more effort into direct to consumer business, but there you need to be careful that you have your logistics sorted out, because that has become such an issue, and you'll see a lot of complaints on a lot of direct websites where orders have been taken, but the delivery hasn't been fulfilled in a proper way. But it was exceptional circumstances. So I think people just needed lots of patience.
I think also in that regard, don't you think that your couriers and that type of businesses will come to the party over time as more and more deliveries start happening?
Yes, for sure. And a lot of them had to adapt very quickly. They had to double the size of their warehouse. And, it's one thing getting a whole lot of new drivers. That's easy. But then the picking and packing and keeping up with all of that is... And having to keep social distance from each other and minimal staff, it's not so easy.
No, it's been a challenge. So talking about challenges, I mean, you've had a long wine journey. So tell us, what's personally the biggest thing that you've learned from your wine journey?
I suppose I've learned that you never know it all. And you have to be flexible and listen to your consumer. And it is vital to look after quality across various price points. I mean, you can have a less expensive wine that over-delivers. It's still, quality in that particular price point, which Villiera is quite well known for. And then I suppose, I've discovered that there are a lot of great people attracted to this industry. I've met wonderful people all over the world through my journey in wine. And then I love wine, like Lisa. I agree with her.
There we go. So talking about loving wine, now I have to ask you, can you give us your own wine quote or your favorite wine quote?
Now I have to bow to the superior talent of people like Winston Churchill and Madame Lily Bollinger, because I'm not so good in that area. Whatever I say sounds a bit corny when it comes to quotes. I'd say something like, a glass of Cap Classique a day keeps the lockdown blues at bay, that sounds a bit corny. But especially if it comes out of a Magnum, as long as your group is more than 4 people, we don't want to encourage drinking too much.
Oh yeah. So, you mentioned Bollinger, and the other, the ladies have always, the ladies of Champagne, or the widows of Champagne, seems to be the marketing experts. So, why do you think are women so good at marketing Champagne? Is there a special reason?
I think because of its sense of style and, just the feeling it gives. And I mean, if you think of the quote, I've got Madame Lily Bollinger's quote next to my desk. I'm working from home. And she says, I drink champagne when I'm happy and when I'm sad. Sometimes I drink it when I'm alone. When I have company, I consider it obligatory. I trifle with it when I'm hungry. I drink it when I am. And otherwise, I never touch it unless I'm thirsty. Now, I mean, how's that? That came from a classy lady.
That is amazing. So I love that. So you were talking a little bit about Lisa and the magnums and stuff like that. I mean, Lisa's running this Big is Beautiful campaign, in which she's really promoting magnums. And in your case, guys are making MCC in magnums. Can you tell us a little bit about the magnums you make in MCC?
Yeah. Well, basically, Cap Classique, when it comes to a magnum, is a lot more festive, and it gives you a sense of occasion. And it's also for those that are expecting something a little bit more from their bottle of Cap Classique. They should really upgrade to a magnum. And a magnum stays youthful for longer. So for those wanting to collect magnums, they can do so and keep it for 10 years if they wish, if they can. The magnum kind of slows down the aging process, but also when you put yeast and sugar inside with your base wine and put it into a bottle, which is how you make bottle fermented sparkling wine, you put a crown cap on the end, the yeast eats up the sugar and generates CO2, and then the yeast dies off and falls to the bottom of the bottle because it's lying on its side. Now, if you can imagine, a magnum has a much bigger surface space than a 750 ml bottle. So there's more space where that lees, or those dead yeast cells, are in contact with the bubbly. It's a process called autolysis, where that character of the yeast is imparted into the bubbly. And so, especially in magnums of bubbly, more so than still wine, there is a bigger difference. And it's just more complex than a 750 ml bottle. So if you've got enough people together, why not open a magnum?
Well, why not open a magnum anyway, Cathy? I think that's quite interesting. So your size of the actual neck and the is that the same as, so your area which opens is the same size as a 1.5 liter bottle has the same neck size and cap size as a 750, right?
Yes. So basically, you've got twice the amount of wine to that small, what they call the ullage, the neck part where there's oxygen in. Mm-hmm. So that's why they say it's a slower aging process over time, because it stays fresher longer because there's less oxygen. I don't think that makes as much difference as the contact with the lees part, though.
Oh, I see.
Personally.
So, in Europe, it's become quite fashionable, to take magnums of wine and also obviously magnums of bubbly everywhere. Do you think this is a fashion that's going to, something that's going to spill over to South Africa as well?
It's quite slow in South Africa, so we produce magnums in smaller quantities. We have tried it with still wine, but it's also our fault a bit because our sales team have got so many wines to sell that they tend to forget to push the magnums. Mm-hmm. And in an online shop, it's also difficult because you can make the fact that you've got magnums available Where we tend to see them selling is for weddings and big events, things like that, where it just looks impressive and grand to have this Magnum.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if people had to, if the producers put more effort in and show people side by side the difference between a bottle that from the same vintage that's done in a Magnum and done in a 750 ml, especially quite a few years later, then you can see the difference more clearly. Then it might, but it will only take on with a small portion of the population. The other category that's popular in Magnums is the less expensive category, because then you're opening, then it's for practical purposes, because you've got a group of 12 people and you're opening a Magnum. You don't have to worry with opening 3 bottles when you can just open, or 4 bottles when you can just open 2.
Yeah, that's true, right? And it's also less stuff to carry. Person can carry 2 bottles. You're carrying enough wine for, otherwise you've got to carry 4 bottles around.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite interesting. So yeah, that's what we say, big is beautiful. So Cathy, how do people get hold of you guys if they want to order something or want to visit you?
Well, all our details are on our website, which is villiera.com, VILLIERA.com, and our phone number, our email address is all on there. At the moment, we are open for click and collect. So if people order and pay, they can just come and pick it up in our taste room, or they can just drive in and place their order. We obviously are careful with how many people we allow into the taste room at any time, but there are areas outside, undercover, where they can sit and wait if there are a few people in the tasting room, or we'll just bring it out to their car. We've got mobile credit card machines. If people don't feel like coming into the taste room, we can just load the wine in their car and they can pay in the parking lot. So we're trying to be very flexible. And then, of course, in Cape Town, we do our own deliveries. So any orders that are placed, we pretty fast about delivering them. We've got our own delivery guys. Our game rangers at the moment aren't working because, well, they are working. They're delivering and helping out with taste room duty because we can't do game drives right now. So everybody has actually been involved in packing wine and delivering wine. In Johannesburg, we have a warehouse where we have a group of drivers. It's not just Villiera, there's a whole bunch of other wines there. But they were a bit snowed down for a couple of weeks, but they've caught up now, so deliveries will be quite quick from there. And then the rest of the country, then we use couriers. And okay. I think the couriers have caught up now too. So everything's not back to normal. Will be a long time before it's normal. We now have a new normal, as they say. Back to a new normal.
That's true. Well, at least, if you really want Villiera, and I think that's why it's necessary to take a Magnum. At least you get enough. You just click and it'll be delivered. Do you actually deliver the Magnums as well?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Cathy, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, and it's been fun. Thank you for spending the time with us, and our listeners will appreciate the information you've given. So yeah, thank you very, very much.
No, it's my pleasure, Will. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.